This is Real World Product Management. Hello, everyone. This is yet another episode of the Real World Product Management, and I have two people on the line with me right now. I have Irina and Kyma. Can you ladies please introduce yourselves? Irina, why don't you go first?
Sure. Welcome back and happy to be with you once again. We're going to have quite an interesting topic today where I'm going to represent product management area mostly and passing the word to Kim, who will be talking from BA side today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kyma. I'm from Almaty, and I've been in business analysis for the past 8 years, quite a long time. And so, I'll be happy to talk about my experience in business analysis.
Just for those folks who are not familiar with the former Soviet Union geography, can you please tell us where the Almaty is?
Sure. Almaty is the former capital of Kazakhstan. And for those of you who don't know Kazakhstan, it's between Russia and China. It's a big country. Yeah.
So this time, Kyma is closer to me than to Vlad because I'm located in Minsk, Belarus.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies. All right. So as we've just heard, we are doing BA versus product management. And first obvious question that I would like to put on the table is, what are the differences between BA and product management? And for the record, I did not have any BA background. I never played a role of BA ever. I was a software developer. Then I went through project management that felt very much like product management because of stuff I ended up doing, and I became a product manager. So I know Irina has a lot of BA background. I know Kyma has a lot of BA background. And now that we're all here, let's talk about the differences between what BA is doing versus what product manager is doing.
Yeah, so maybe I can start with the definition of business analysis, and I'm sure Irina will also add something here. So business analyst in the previous, when I was starting, was definition was like the bridge between the customer and the team. And if you look at the BA book, Business Analysis Body of Knowledge definition, the last version, it's more defined like business analyst is a catalyst for change. It enables a change in the organization by defining the needs and bringing the value to the customer. So this is pretty much it. Basically, business analyst is the person who supports the change and the person who communicates both with the product development or project development team and the customer.
And if we were just go straightforward by Wikipedia and check product management definition over there, you would see that usually product managers are the ones who are responsible or at least orchestrating product development as the process, together with the business justification, planning, forecasting, any kind of verification, validation, end users, connections. Sometimes it also involved pricing, financial aspects of product development part. And of course, product managers are the ones who are supporting and orchestrating product launch, as well as any type of marketing activities, supporting sales activities, and also sometimes helping to establish support model for the product. So this is what you would see for product management. I would say that from their perspective of the past experience, product managers tend to be more on the business side, and business analysts tend to be more between business and technology side. But I would say that BAs are usually much more technology savvy, technology aware people comparing to product managers.
Funny you brought that up, because on my experience, and that's why I love having people with different approaches and different mindsets. Part of my experience was introducing change to organizations. So I was, as a product manager, I was the agent of change, not BAs. BAs were more of a, tell us what to do and we'll figure out the requirements for it. And a lot of times as a product manager, I was technically savvy. I was sometimes even more technically savvy than BAs. And I was able to get into nitty-gritty details of software systems by being more technically savvy and then explaining to them what the thing is. And the last part, to again back to what you were saying, again, as a product manager, I was the connection between the business and delivery. I was exactly in the place where you're putting the BA in this layout. So it's funny how they overlap, how the positions overlap, or how the roles overlap in different organizations.
Yeah.
I think there's a conflict in there somewhere.
I think it's as they say, it all depends. But once I've heard this interesting thought that product manager is more outward or externally bound looking, while business analyst is more inward looking. What it means that product manager is involved with marketing research, with users analysis and so forth, like benchmarking, while business analyst might do this work. Business analyst is more concentrated on the internal processes within the organization. So it might be one of the differences, but I do agree there might be some overlap between the two.
Yeah, and probably, that's very true, that it depends, because if we go to the market right now and take a look who is being called as a business analyst, you definitely would see that such role and such title exists in many other areas outside of software development, and the meaning for that would be different. So that probably, the first reason, one of the reasons why conflict raised. I actually quite aligned with Kyma mentioned about being externally faced for product managers versus being internally faced for business analysts. And Vlad, I think coming back to your example, probably you were just playing both of the roles. You just never knew that you were doing this, which is actually happening quite a lot, because many people who are looking for product managers today, they actually put quite a number of the responsibilities in the work description, the position description, that actually should be part of BA responsibilities. The reality is, though, that not every company has a business analyst or business analyst available, or separate competencies, a separate department, or whatever is needed. And still, someone has to work with the requirements. Someone has to be a bridge between delivery and business side. And if you don't have such people as business analysts, there is nothing else to do except tell product manager to ask a product manager to be such person. So yeah, that's actually happening quite a lot. And I think more conflicts come into play right now with product owner role being added, because now you can have a setup where you have product manager, product owner, sometimes even proxy product owner, and business analyst. So that becomes even more tricky, I would say.
Yeah, I think
definitely.
That's going to be a lot of fun. And now, I want us to think about this case when, okay, I will say something, and I think that you'll disagree, and we can start the discussion, right? Product manager is, again, more concentrated on the product, like how this product is placed on the market, how this product brings a value, and so forth. While product owner is, again, operates within the company. Product manager might not be necessarily thinking about the company itself, while the focus is on the product, while product owner is at least in my, from my perspective, is a person who operates from the company interests. What do you think about that?
Yes, you were right. I would disagree. I think product manager is very concerned and is very company focused, because the goal of each product, and I keep stressing this in pretty much any dialogue I have around product management competency or product mindset overall, the idea is that product does not exist in a vacuum. Product is not built just because we can. Product is built to answer and resolve and solve for customers' needs. So there's a customer problem, customer issue, and the product is being built as a response to that. Therefore,
for sure, yeah,
right, and therefore, product manager is very concerned with the internal view, because that solves a customer problem for the company, for this particular company he's working with. Additionally, there are aspects that are part of the responsibilities, they're part of the scope of product manager, For example, connecting with delivery, connecting with or standing up support model, even legal, then all these parts, all these items are internally facing. So yes, absolutely, as a product manager, I am responsible for taking the product to the market, but it's one of those nightmares that keep haunting me. These imagine I don't know, 17th and 18th century army, and you have a general on the white horse in front of the army, and he goes, let's attack. He goes forward, but nobody follows. And he's just all alone in front of the enemy army, and everybody's like, okay, the guy decided to take a walk. That's fine. So that's kind of a picture that you paint for an unsuccessful product manager. So you need to make sure your team, the company behind you, is following you, and that's why you still have to be company faced as well.
Okay. Yeah, just to add to what Vlad mentioned, actually, I saw several cases when compensation and bonuses and all of that for product managers is highly tied to the results of the products that they are leading. So with that, you actually have to be company focused as well, and especially business and business goals focused and business focused person. I think what you mentioned about being externally focused versus internally focused, that's not exactly tied to the area of responsibilities or which goals you're trying to achieve, but rather mostly tied to the activities that are fulfilling your day. And in my mind, the main difference between all these various roles would be the percentage of the time that you're spending on one type of activities versus others. Because I actually did see quite a number of cases when product owners were part of the marketing activities or were part of the sales pitches. And the same is very true for business analysts, especially if you would like to grow these people into the product managers later on. I think that the question is, how much time should you dedicate to do the sales pitches, or how much time business analysts should dedicate to help marketing department with the materials development and so on. So again, to me, the main difference would be not only the focus, but also percentage of the time that you are spending on each of these various areas and activities.
And then I'm interested to hear Vlad's opinion on the product owner versus product manager role. What is the difference then, from your perspective?
That's one of my favorite topics.
Okay, let's start on this one.
Yes, there's a canned definition I always provide, but it's mostly for people who are not involved in product development. And that is, it sounds something like product owners is a role within an agile team. They sit in the team, and they are team's external interface. The product owner is the person or a conductor that connects the team to the outside world, because one of the responsibilities of the product owner is to shield the team from all the external things and make them focus on actual development. And they are responsible for bringing in the new requirements or new wants and asks, and then making sure team understands them and provides things back to the outside world. Whereas the product manager is someone on the more strategic level who sees a big picture, who sees the whole product or product portfolio, and effectively he tells product owners what needs to be done. And the lingo here is pretty important. We're not, as product managers, we're not telling them how to do things. We're not telling them what we want to do. We're telling them what needs to be done. And then the rest is up to them how they want to figure it out.
Yeah, so I kind of would like to mirror what Vlad was saying about product owner and product management. And the reason for that is because with product management, usually that's supposed to be a career path. You all can become a senior product manager directing product management. But for product owner, we don't have such thing as senior product owner. And that sounds obvious for most of us. And that's actually happening, especially because we treat product owner just as a role. So you can be titled even as a software engineer or Scrum Master, whatever, and at the same time to be business-oriented person and drive the team in the role of product owner. So disregarding the fact that you actually can hire a product owner person for such title today, still, most of us would see that just as a role. And partially that's coming from that reasoning that this came from Scrum, where product owner was just as a role that can be played by anybody, similar to Scrum Master.
Right.
So what I wanted to share here that when we were trying to find this border between product manager and product owner, so what's this period of time? What's this flag or criteria that would let you know that you're not only product owner any longer, but you are now ready to become a product manager, right? So we were looking for these and realized that one of such criteria can be the time scale on which you're working and on which you're looking at your product. So usually product owner is the one who really defines how you're doing, how you're going to achieve a particular goal, as Vlad mentioned, but you're doing that on a shorter time scale. So usually you have like a release or couple of releases in front of you with kind of defined goals for those, so you know what you're trying to achieve. And most probably you're looking for the next 3, 6, probably 9 months. Sometimes it can be up to 12 months, but I would say it really rarely happening. And as a product owner, you have those goals kind of given to you. You don't have the exact path through this forest, how you're going to achieve those goals, but you know what you need to do, and you have expected timeline for this. And again, this is something that's a little bit more tactical because these goals were set for you. As a product manager, you're actually the one who is working on a more strategic level. So you are trying to define those goals for the next 12 months and longer in the role of product manager. And with that, you have to do all these external faced activities that we discussed before. And product owner is just the one who is helping you to achieve certain goals that were set by you. So you are the owner of those goals that later are being communicated to product owners that later being achieved by the entire team. So this is how we would treat that. And this is how we would do this limitation or separation between product owner and product manager. It's the scale as the time frame, and of course percentage, as I said, time that you're spending dealing with marketing, sales, support, and so on.
That makes sense. I just want to throw in a bit of a curveball here, and you will see this in the marketplace. People are hiring product owners, and by product owners, they mean product portfolio managers, or product line managers. So really high level senior position, and they understand ownership in the direct, not a product owner, not as an agile role or not as a Scrum role, but more of a real ownership. Like you will own this product line or this product portfolio, and you will make all the decisions, and you will be responsible for financial results. Basically, back to what Irina was saying, where performance is tied into the product performance or portfolio performance. That's exactly what they meant. So, and that's kind of a thing that I keep seeing. I see this less now, these days, but I've seen this pretty often. So I think it's so relevant. And whenever you talk about product ownership, you need to be very careful because not every organization is on the same maturity level, and some organizations are pretty new and they're adopting good things. Some organizations are, again, not very mature, pretty new to the whole product mindset, but they're not adopting the right methodologies or right approach. And they would call anybody who does anything with a product, they own this, so they're product owners, right? It throws more monkey wrenches into the whole understanding. But I think what Irina said makes sense in most of the cases, most of the scenarios.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting.
So now with that, Kyma, I guess, Kyma, question to you. from your experience, who do you think you, or actually, should me put it in different way? Who would you prefer to have on your team? Is it a product manager or product owner, and why?
I would say that in the ideal scenario, based on the definition you provided, we would have both. Because again, if it's an agile team, it's of course we need to have product owner, and then a product manager who's looking like at the, as we said, outbound. So I wouldn't say that it's a kind of, if there's no choice, if I had to choose, I think the product manager role is important, because in some cases business analyst can perform the role of the product owner. But given the choice, I would prefer to have both.
Sounds great. Unfortunately, this is not what's happening in the real life, because not every company has a budget for all these roles, and not every company has a clear understanding why do they need that many people, and what all these people are going to be doing. But yeah, I would agree with you that it's great when you have everyone and you have clear understanding of the responsibilities.
Yeah, and yeah, sorry. It just I have a question to you guys. So we have business analyst, product owner, and product manager, right? And what do you think would be the career path for business analyst to go further? So is it more like, again, I understand that there might be choice and business analyst might choose, but where because you guys have this product manager perspective, right? And maybe you have this view where business analyst can grow, where he would fit better. Is it product management or product ownership?
I would say that it can be both, and not only those. Of course, saying that as a business analyst, you can easily grow into product manager. That would be a straightforward and easy answer here. The reality is, though, I saw different cases happening in life, and sometimes business analysts realizing that they would like to be more on the technology side and a little bit more process oriented. So they're not that business oriented, but rather process oriented. Again, they feel really comfortable in administrating the process, orchestrating all of that. And with that, they are sometimes switching to their role of delivery manager. That's, I would say, probably not happening a lot, but sometimes I saw that, especially if you would like to be, this kind of the manager who is working with the team and kind of managing the team. That's definitely the path that you can take as a business analyst. Another career path that's happening much more often is a step towards consultancy and being a business consultant. If you're a great business analyst, you must probably have enough of knowledge in a particular domain, in a particular sphere. And if you're developing yourself into the next step in career, whatever it is, it might not be decided at that point, but you already you're already looking outside of only one company that you're working with. And with that, you're understanding what is happening on the market, what are the actual trends, what actually can happen with your competitors in the nearest future. So you're getting more and more insights from the market side. And at a certain point of time, you can realize that this is information that you can sell together with your experience, and you're on path to the business consultancy. And product management, of course, this is a possibility to grow there. I would say, coming back to your question between the product ownership and product management, the way how I usually position that is actually stay as a business analyst in terms of the career path, but try to take on a role of product owner. And that's kind of coming back to our previous conversation that product ownership is mostly a role, not like a career path, right? So you can try that. You can quite easily take yourself into the position of proxy product owner and then product owner. That is usually, again, fairly quickly and easily doable for any skilled business analyst. And then if you feel like this is the right path, if you feel like this is the job that you would like to do, deal with all these priorities and business conflicts and deal with the business objectives and so on, then you're definitely moving to the next stage in your career, which is product management. So I would say product ownership is a great step between business analysis and product management. So this is how I would position that.
Okay, that's interesting. Thank you. And the question to Vlad, it's a bit maybe controversial question, but still, do you think that product manager can it's the other way around when product manager becomes a business analyst?
I haven't seen that happening, and I think I know why. First, product managers, unless this is not a career path, unless this is a retirement path, product managers deal with a lot more than BA does, at least from my perspective. I'm yet to see a single BA taking product to the market. Product managers do this all the time. I may have seen BAs helping with marketing, legal, interfacing with delivery, but they're not the orchestrator. They're not the responsible party for all of these activities. And I don't think unless there's the person who spent 10, 15 years in product management role, and then they decided, this is overwhelming. I want to focus on just one part of this, just figuring things out. I actually can see myself doing it.
Okay.
in 5-10 years. You know what? I really don't enjoy talking to legal anymore, which is not true. I do. But, 10-15 years, you know what? It's the same thing all over. Standing up support organizations, it's the same thing all over. Talking to marketing, it's the same thing all over. I'm bored. Let me go and do something really exciting. And that exciting part is figuring things out as a business analyst or going down into nitty-gritty details of systems. And given the experience that I would have by then, given the expertise I would have by then, it probably would be a pretty interesting role and pretty interesting position to be in. So theoretically, as we all know, theoretically, nothing has a zero probability. It's a small chance, and it probably will happen eventually to some of the people, but not as a general rule, not as a career development, kind of like a change of a career or, a path on the retirement. It's just, I just want to do things for fun.
Yeah, sure. And Kyma, kind of to be on the same topic, with all these new roles, product ownership being added and being all over the place, actually more and more companies are asking for a product owner to be a part of the team rather for a business analyst to be a part of the team. Do you think that we'll ever get to the point when business analyst is not needed any longer? So there is a product owner and product manager, and they split all of the activities that BAs are doing today between those two. So what do you think is the future for business analysts?
Yeah, that's a good question. And here I think there are several things. The first thing is that business analyst has this specific activity. And as Vlad said, this is quite, I would say deep and focused on kind of analyzing the requirements, and understanding the business need, focusing on the business value. So this is quite, focused activity. So I think, and this activity, at least from my perspective, it will never be extinct. While product management has wider things, like wider scope of things, I believe that product manager will always need support of business analyst, unless there is a kind of, I don't know, maybe it's some small product and product manager can perform both things like business analysis and product management. But I do believe that business analysis, will always be needed. And as you said, actually, I agree with you that again, I don't know, is it the world changing, or is just in my career I'm changing my perspective? But what I see that when I was a middle business analyst or junior business analyst, was more focused on the lower level of requirements. So I was more into functional requirements, analyzing the details, being really the bridge between the customer and the team, and just kind of handing over the requirements. With Right now, I do see the role changing, but I think it's more to do with my career path, that I have more perspective, and now it's more focused on the business value which we bring. So right now, I think business analysis might be indeed heading towards consulting, when you can really see, when you're deep down into the domain, and you understand the business processes within the company, within the customer, and you can indeed consult what would be the more efficient. Again, this is the second thing which would, I would say, prevent of business analysis to be extinct. So answering your question, no, I don't think that business analysis might be just fully disappear as a role.
I hope that it will not. I I truly believe that there's enough of work for all of these roles. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess now we are getting to the point in the conversation where we can start talking a little bit about the remote work. In our world today, when we have number of offshore teams and pretty everyone, big company has an offshore team. Always it's a question of budgets, but it's also a question of feasibility. Which role would you to have? Would you prefer to have on site, being together with the client, together with the business side, together with the entire company, versus which role can stay offshore and be closer to the offshore delivery team? So, Kyma, any perspective from your side on that? Where do you think the separation should be, and if it should be at all?
Yeah, it's a very good question. And actually, for the past 4 years, two of these years, I was working on site, on the customer side, on the customer premises, and 2 of the past years I was working offshore. So I can compare here, I guess. The thing with working on site, of course, is great that you always have the access to the stakeholders. You can basically, if you build a good enough relationship,
access to the body. Yeah.
Exactly. You can just walk into the room, say, hey, you know what, could you please clarify? Just need your 5 minutes. And, it's more opportunity, first of all, to build the relationship with the customer, to make them trust, because I think it's even from the psychological perspective, when you see person every single day, you kind of trust him more, I guess. And second of things, yeah, of course, you can, you can always go into any of the doors and ask anything. With the having said that, I think there are disadvantages. For example, being always on site gives you always this more of the business side. You're always working on the business need, business requirement, business solution, you're taking one perspective, while being offshore makes you more see the delivery team perspective, probably. I do know that there might be, of course, balance, and you can find that, but working on site can be quite, I wouldn't say stressful, but it makes you put on the spots. You're always there. And when you're offshore, okay, I'm gonna talk about the second part here. When you're working remotely offsite, sometimes if you're working in the different time zones, you have only certain hours overlapping, right? And during those hours, you can work with a client, and when they are not there, when the kind of stakeholders are, they are sleeping or something, they're in different time zone, you have your time to focus and concentrate. And I think it is very important for business analysts not only to communicate with the stakeholders or with the team, it's very important for him to have his own time to do the analysis. That's why they're always called business analysis, to understand the business, the business processes, where the problem lies, what would be the best solution, understanding the business, and so forth. So you do need that time. It all depends, of course, but all I'm saying that if you're working on site, you might not need enough, you might not get enough of that time on your own, while remote work can allow that. But I think there are a few important things working remotely, which might seem like little things, but they're critical actually. Yeah. First thing is constant communication, because when you are working off site, you kind of, again, you might focus more on the delivery team, on working on your analysis thing and so forth, while you might lose focus on the customer. That's why I always make sure that we have enough communication points with the client, with the customer. Sometimes your client might say, hey, you know what, I think it's too often, maybe we don't need to talk that often and so forth. But eventually, in my experience, all clients did agree at the end that it was good. So communication never hurts. So you need to actually put that communication points in your agenda, in your calendar. And second thing is that please do put your camera on. It might seem like a little thing, but I think that seeing the actual person instead of just static image might change the attitude. And of course, there are more tips, but yeah, this is what I've found.
Interesting. I know things about camera, and I'm not disagreeing, but so coming from, let's put it this way, from past experience, having a video chat is not always the most ideal situation, because people tend to do things especially when they're deep into thinking, or they're kind of like go with the flow. They doing things that you may not want to see, or you as a person may be doing things that you don't want others to see, and it gets distracting. It gets very so instead of thinking of what you're saying, I watch how you scratch your head every 15.5 seconds, and that's distracting, because I'm not focusing on the conversation. I'm focusing on things I'm looking at through the camera. And in my past experience, I actually found myself preferring not to watch the video. And if I'm on the call where people use video and I see live people, I try to tune that out or overlap it with, I don't know, OneNote where I take my notes, so I don't see their faces. Instead, I'm focusing on what they're saying and focusing on taking notes of what's important for me. So that's interesting.
It's interesting, Vlad, and I think it depends on which stage of the relationship you are with this client. Because I do agree that we know when you've seen this person for, I don't know, every single day for the past couple of years, and probably you don't need to build this trust, and you can of course switch off the video, although I do not do so even now. But on the other hand, if you're at some early stages, you might want to switch on the video, because it makes you more human. As you said, there might be some things which are not ideal and so forth, but it makes you vulnerable, and at the same time it makes other person trust you. At least, it's my opinion.
I actually would fully agree with Kyma over here. I would say that it heavily depends whether you know how the particular person looks or not. And from the past experience, we have quite a big company over here, and we are talking to many, many people. But then once we had like a conference or in-person event where you meet all of these people in person, all of the sudden, the tone of your messages, even the tone of your emails, which might sound a little bit crazy, but really the tone of your email messages changes once you know how this person looks and once you know how this person behaves just in real life. And even her scratching the face, it still changes how you would talk to this person.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, it's possible. I'm not disagreeing. I'm offering a slightly different perspective on this, and I do agree that it helps. I'm just thinking, sometimes it can get distracting.
Sure.
Yeah, it's probably a good topic for our next session. How would you make sure that there is enough of communication, but at the same time not to be overburdened with the meetings in your calendar and have time to work, to do the actual work, right? And then how would you have that many meetings during the day with video, but still have a break and still have this feeling that you're not very tired of sitting straightforward in your chair all the days or all the meetings that you have. So probably that can be part of the next conversation.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely need to explore, given the current situation, we definitely need to explore how people think, feel, and how they manage this remote work with the cameras on. And I've seen a few stories, different. I don't want to go deep into this, but I've seen a few stories about remote work being tracked, how you do the remote work.
Yeah.
And not all of them are pretty. So we'll definitely need to explore that.
Okay, so coming back to the initial topic, Vlad, what's your perspective about the remote work? Kyma was saying that you have advantages and disadvantages of being business analyst and being on site versus offshore. What do you think about product manager? Is it possible at all to be product manager and to be remote?
That's a good question. Yes, I've been doing this for the past 2 years, full time, and I've been doing this previous 5-ish, 7-ish years part time, which means I have been a product manager with teams partially or completely remote, or I was working from home, or I was working from a remote location. So technically, I was remote and the team was on the premise. It's possible. Ideally, yes, I want to see my clients, the people I work with, not necessarily the team I'm working with, not necessarily delivery or legal or marketing, but in the ideal world, we're all in the same place. But we're not in the ideal world ever. So it's possible. It's doable. It takes longer, from my experience, and it takes longer to make things happen. First of all, because of the schedules, you only stick to the schedules. You can't have a conversation in the corridor. You can have a conversation in somebody else's office. Hey, are you available? I have a couple of questions for you. You can, however, have conversations over, I don't know, Slack, Teams, whatever you guys are using. And that helps. Again, the problem is it's not instantaneous. You have a crazy idea, you want to bounce it off by someone, but everybody's in the meeting. You ping a couple of people, they're not responding. So your interest kind of dies down. You switch over to other activities, and by the time they respond, either you don't remember what you wanted to ask, or you don't really care much about it anymore. And it was like, yeah, probably was not a good idea. Never mind. And you lose momentum, you lose traction. So some things are definitely getting lost in translation. There are certain personal, just like Irina, just like you said, there's certain personal connection that you make with people, and there's certain personal feeling that you get once you've acquainted with the person in real life. That is missing if you're constantly remote. At the same time, maybe because you're more formal, maybe because your communications are easily tracked, as in you have emails, you have chat, you have notes, you have recordings of meetings. So it's easier to go back to the conversation and see if you've missed anything. A lot of times in interpersonal, like you pop in somebody's office, you want to discuss something, you get things done faster, but it's harder to track them. And in my previous life, that happened to me a lot, where I would occasionally pop into somebody else's office, we discuss something, we resolve things in 15 minutes instead of 3 hours of meetings, and then I send out meeting notes if I remember to do that, and if I don't, no one's aware that this is what we've decided. And I've seen actually companies struggling because of that. They have conversations in place, they have certain decisions made in place, and then they forget, or maybe not, to distribute the results of those conversations. So to me, it's a blessing and a curse. The blessing is that everything is easier tracked. The curse is that you don't get that personal touch. You may not even pick up certain language that is easier to understand for the other parties. So, I think, again, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, from my perspective, I would say that the best case scenario would be form a team and have a product manager. So actually, from the requests that we've been processing so far, in most of the cases, it's kind of requested that product manager would stay on site together with the business and closer to the clients, versus product owner and business analyst to be closer to the delivery team, because this is the guys to whom they should interact on daily basis. And my personal best scenario would be form a team where there's really close, tight, and personal connection between product owner and product manager. And you can jump with any idea in this communication between these two guys at any point of time. So you're actually not losing this great idea that just came to your mind while you were, in the shower, for example. And at the same time, you have a product manager who can pop into someone's room and into someone's office and just talk briefly about that really quickly, and then feel all this tension and political scenes and, all these little emotional details which are going on site. And then as a product owner, you're kind of doing the same for the offshore team and for everyone who is actually staying offshore. And then you have this whole chat between you two, how we're doing on both of the sides. But that requires really close and really trusted relationships between these two guys. But to me, this is a path to success when you have remote and remote team and on-site team.
Yeah.
Now that you mentioned it, I'm sorry, I just have to bring this up. Story about my past experience. I had a distributed team where we had people all over the United States, literally any place in the United States. We had a person, we had 7 or 8 people team, and we had a person in each and every part of the United States. And one of the people on my team was very serious, very uptight, very professional. I'm not even sure which other words to use to describe this person. Very official, everything down to the point, nothing special, nothing outside of work. And at some point, we were having a Scrum related conversation or something, and one of us, not me, some other team member, used the phrase from a very popular science fiction show. And everybody related to that almost instantaneously. Everybody said, "Oh, yes, I know what you mean." And it was very funny when that person, very uptight person, very serious, very professional, nothing outside of the boundaries of work, immediately became very relatable. And, oh, yes, since you've seen this show, I've seen this show, we can connect on another level. That, in my head at least, it broke some of the walls around that person.
Icebreaker, right?
Yeah.
Well, the whole wall breaker, not even an icebreaker.
Yeah, that's actually a great story. Okay, so I guess we're kind of slightly moving to the end
Towards
of our
the end, yes.
to the end of our conversation today. So Kyma, I guess Vlad and myself were most on the product management side today, and kind of been sharing our experience from that side. And you're the one who was sharing your experience from the business analysis perspective. So, are there any questions that you would ever ask to product managers, be in the role of business analyst?
Yeah, I have a few actually, and 2 of them I guess relate to the product management, and one is like general questions. So I will start with the product management questions. So why do you think is that it's been recently that the product management role is becoming popular? So as you guys said earlier, if you look at the market, probably more and more there's a product management role which is needed. So why do you think it's becoming popular now?
I probably can step in over here, and then Vlad would add. My experience mostly coming from the enterprise world, and why many enterprises are seeking for product managers today. It's not only because they would like to have such role. It mostly happening because they would like to have more product-oriented mindset and product-oriented approach. And in my world, product-oriented approach means result-oriented approach. This is how I treat this personally. And these big enterprises, they actually used to behave in certain way, using certain frameworks and patterns. And it used to be more project oriented. When you have a timeline, when you have a budget that's being allocated to a particular department, and this budget is allocated on a yearly basis, and whether you underspend that or overspend that, you're in a bad situation. So you try to be exactly on the number. So you're mostly worried about these budgets and your plans for the next year. And yes, of course, you do care about the business side and business objectives, but this is not exactly what's driving what you're doing within the department. And these days, to be more competitive, to be more aligned with your customers, with your clients, with end users, you cannot behave as it used to be with this budget allocation, and plannings, and really being project oriented. You need to switch to the product mindset where you're trying, where you're experimenting, where you're generating and validating hypotheses, when you're trying to innovate, and basically you're trying to change everything, if not on daily or weekly basis, then at least on monthly basis. And of course, that completely changes the framework and the way how you used to work. And when big organizations, big enterprises are looking at all of that, so this time, this switch, that means like agile mindset and product mindset. And in order to implement and support that product mindset, you obviously need product managers. And here where demand is coming from the market for such roles, and also where demand is coming from for many other roles that are related to product development and product implementation. So I would say product management is just the part that we see over here in terms of the growing demand, but really it's more request for the transformation, and it's more and more requests for this product mindset to be implemented, to be adopted within a particular company.
Mm-hmm. So basically, world is becoming more and more dynamic. Of course, there are more and more things are coming in. So basically, we need to change our mindset to be more flexible in a way, right?
Absolutely, and probably the main point, to stay as close as we can be to the end users and to the clients, and to listen to their feedback and work on that. This is probably sin number one to be successful today.
I agree with this. I agree with pretty much everything Irina said. I'm not sure if I caught that part. The product mindset approach is generally considered cheaper. And that's why a lot of companies are looking at it and trying to implement it. Not cheaper as in McDonald's versus expensive restaurants, but cheaper in a way that you can get same amount of work for less, or you can get more bang for your buck. So, and that is actually true. It's not something that we pulled out of thin air. We're actually seeing these types of successes with our clients and the organizations I've worked for before. There's definitely a benefit of product management approach because of flexibility, because of the data-driven decisions, or at least an attempt to make data-driven decisions, because of the new mentality or mindset, as we call it, how you approach solving the problem. You don't just rush into the project with a fixed budget. You're trying to spend money smarter, because there's a pretty understandable life cycle of a product. You standing up a product when it's needed, how it's needed, and then you continue supporting it as needed. So it's all focused on business outcomes, not just, well, we have $6 million, we need to spend it.
Okay.
So there's that other aspect.
Interesting. Okay, thank you. My next question is, what do you think are the 3 qualities for the good product manager?
It's a good
That's
one.
interesting.
I think there won't be any simple action.
Yeah, so I don't have a prepared answer over here. I would say that good product managers do need to work quite a lot on soft skills, like communication skills, being flexible, to be able to serve as a servant leadership, be able to find to come to an agreement basically with any person, with any department, and so on. So it actually comes back to the communication skills. And partially, I know that it's not usually treated as a soft skill, but you definitely need to be a good presenter. So together with the great speech that you are conducting, you need to be able to support that with nice images and presentations and decks, whatever is needed. While you're talking. So I would say, there are a number of hard skills that you would need, but this is definitely important. And without that, you wouldn't be a successful product manager. Together with that, I would say my next point, kind of connected. You need to be flexible. You really need to be able to listen to the people and understand their position, their opinion, and what's even more important, if you hear something reasonable and if you feel like this is the right thing, be able to change your opinion, your approach, your mindset, whatever, based on the feedback and the input that you heard. So really not to stuck to only one right way, because usually when you're doing product development, there is no right way, you're just inventing everything. And together with inventing things, you need to be flexible. So I would say that's point number 2. And point number 3, I would say that you still need to be educated in product management area and still have all of these knowledge, experience in hard skills, and understanding what is required from your role. Because unfortunately, from cases that we see over here, a number of people are just being assigned with the role of product owner or being assigned to the position of product manager, but they really don't know that they, for example, supposed to work with marketing. So still being educated in the field, I would say that that's important as well. So this is my 3 things that I just thought about right at this moment.
Thank you. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, Vlad, anything?
That's really cool, because I have I think we only overlap on one.
Interesting. Okay,
and that's good. That's good because I don't disagree with Irina's perspective. I may be calling things similar things with different words. So let's see how this will go. First and foremost, the one that overlaps with Irina, I just call it with a different word. I call it storytelling. So it's being a great communicator, same way that Irina said. It's being able to get your point across and tell a good story, whether it's a story of a future product that you want to develop and you need to convince your stakeholders, or it's a story of your success, or it's a story of your failure. One of the most important parts of being a product manager is being a good storyteller, because people are not going to listen to you if you're just going to keep telling them about this brand new JavaScript framework that is absolutely amazing, or this brand new AI algorithm that is just going to solve the world hunger. Nobody's that patient. But if you're able to wrap it in a good story that immediately brings people to attention and it immediately makes them interested in whatever it is you're trying to do. And I think one of the major things that product managers do is they're champions of new products, or they're champions of their existing products, and one of the goals is to increase adoption of your product, and that's how you do it. You tell good stories. Now, the part where we start deviating a little bit, the next quality that I think is really important is product manager is humble. And I keep regurgitating this thought that product management is a thankless job. If you did it, it's a team effort. If you didn't make it, then it's your personal fault, and that is where that product manager's humble comes in. Yes, it is a team effort. You didn't do it alone. And I've out of all my career, I've never done anything alone. I always had help, but from delivery, from software developers, from business analysts, from subject matter experts. It's never a solo game. It's always a team effort. So it's still true. And product manager needs to be humble in a way that they recognize and they give credit and they praise team members that help them achieve their goals. So in that sense, again, I think one of the most important parts of being product manager is being humble, because if you take away people's credit, they're not going to help you next time around. And it's very real. If you're not saying, hey, Kyma and Irina, help me record this podcast, Kyma and Irina may never come back to me and may never participate in another episode of this podcast. So there's that. And the third thing, where we completely, probably 90% away from naming the same thing, is product manager has to be curious and not educated, not necessarily educated, but curious to learn more. And maybe it's being the generalist, which is what I am in terms of product management speaking, but product manager always tries to learn new things. As an example, again, I use personal examples because I can relate to them. It's easier. I've studied 15 different things in the past week. They range from legal case management systems to pharmaceutical systems to logistics systems to oil and gas systems. Why? Because I think these items, these knowledge points or this information is relevant to understanding the current problems with the market and help me do my job better, but also because I am by nature curious. I want to know more about things that define the current world. And so when I come in and bring my expertise and experience to the company I work for or to a client of my company, they understand that I'm actually bringing quality and a lot of expertise to the table. So in that sense, my three items, being a good communicator and storyteller, being humble and being curious.
Yeah.
Those are my three.
Yeah, thanks a lot. That's interesting. And while you guys were telling this, I was drawing a parallel with the business analyst. And I think that, again, in terms of business analysis and product management, there might be differences, but of course, there are similarities. And especially in terms of, of the good BA qualities, I do believe that communication, of course, is crucial. Presentation skills, storytelling, yes, sometimes you do need to tell stories. In terms of curiosity as well, I do think that BA has to be curious and humble. I think that, Vlad, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I think that BA is a serving role, right? Because you're serving the customer, you're serving the team, and this is, I think, where overlap happens. So I think in general, thank you guys for these examples. It's very interesting, and I think that it's has a lot in common with BA qualities. Okay, I do have the last question, but I'm not sure if we have time for that.
Let's do a lightning round. Let's try to answer it really fast.
Okay, Irina, at some point of our conversation, you mentioned that it's kind of the question is, when do you understand that it's enough of communication? Because for BA, the communication is important, and sometimes you want to make sure that it's a lot of communication, but on the other hand, you do need time for your own things. So how do you understand that the communication is sufficient, that it's enough?
That's actually a good question that I don't have a straight answer for. I feel like I think that it should be driven by your feeling only. And until you see that people are open to communicate with you more, and as long as you feel that you're aligned with your stakeholders, with business objectives, and you don't have this feeling, oh yeah, that conversation happened without me, so I'm lacking the information, that should be enough. But there's no silver bullet like 2 hours per day and you're good. I don't think that there's measure like that. I would say that on the productivity side, you definitely need to measure the number of sessions and communications and meetings that you're participating in, because if it's 8 hours a day every day, that's really going to be too much, and most probably you're going to be really tired within really short periods of time. So enough is enough, as long as it does not stop you from doing your work, and as long as you feel aligned with all the people whom you're talking to.
Yeah, thank you. Vlad, anything to add here?
Yeah, I'm still gonna try the lightning way. So it's all in the schedule for me, and if I know I need to get work done and I'm being overwhelmed by meetings, it's all about time management. So I'm gonna try to schedule the work. I'm gonna block my schedule to do the work, and this will naturally expand. It will naturally spread out the meetings, so I don't have 8 meetings a day, which I had before in my previous life, and I didn't have any time to work, and that's how I learned the hard way to do this. So I would just block out time on my calendar and make sure nobody puts meetings there, and if somebody tries to schedule over, I would decline and said, hey, I can't, I'm working on something, or I have another meeting, find another time. I'm not a slave to your schedule. I am a manager of my own schedule, so the time is not good for me. And that basically, right, you have to be able to say no in any position. It's not not just product management thing, which we should probably explore one of the next episodes, is the ability to say no. But yeah, that's the way I do it.
Yeah, that would be a good one. Some time ago, one of the managers gave me an advice: don't let people book your schedule yourself with the people if you need them.
Yeah.
But I think you need to be at the very high position in order to be able that. And for product managers, unfortunately, it's not always working like that, especially not in my case, but probably you guys know better.
Yeah. Scheduling is very important.
Definitely worth discussion. Worth discussion, because it's a big topic. Time management as a
and how to
senior role versus middle level role. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you guys. Very interesting.
All right. I think we're out of time. Thank you both. I think this went extremely well, and this is really interesting. I hope we'll reconnect and cover topics that we've missed.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kyma. Thank you, Irina. It was a pleasure having you on this episode.
Thank you guys for having me.
The same here. Thank you for inviting me, and hope to talk to you again.
Yeah. Stay safe. Take care.
Work remotely.
Exactly.
Remotely.
Thank you, guys.
You've been listening to The Real World Product Management, and I've been your host, Vlad Grubman. Until the next time.